Hello everyone, welcome along to Racing Weekly, a podcast and YouTube show brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Delighted to have Steve Ryder as usual alongside me, and we welcome back Anthony Ennis to the show. Anthony, good to see you. You have just completed year 5 of the Racing League.
Yep.
How has that gone? How has this year gone? How different has it been over the course of that 5 years?
Yeah, obviously the first year was a bit of a sort of learning curve, wasn't it? We had very different teams, different sponsors, etc. And then it became more regional sort of the second year onwards, and things changed. But I think for the better. I think obviously a lot of people don't like the team element, but if you don't, it's just good racing. That's what I think. It's good prize money. It's tremendous betting events. They're competitive races. You get each way 3 places every race. No, it was good. It was good fun, some good finishes, and the quality of horse running in some of the races as well. You were having horses like Witch Hunter and group horses running in a lot of the handicaps. I thought it was enjoyable. It's a shame it wasn't close. I mean, one year it went down to the last race with, I remember Kevin Blake and Jamie Osborne sort of head-to-head into the final race, but it was kind of tied up, wasn't it? I mean, London and the South was just too far ahead to be caught going into Southall, which was a pity, but, well done to London the South and Mr. Chapman for
a huge shame in that respect.
for his, I've got to say, his superb management. You told me to say that.
Yes.
And well done to Richard Kingscote as well, of course, is off to Hong Kong. I think he was, he's won the £20,000 prize for that as well, which will pay for some of his expenses travelling over there.
Yeah, his win on Anderleep earlier in the league was one of my favourite moments of the whole season. I love that horse. Your view of it all and what you make of what's happened with the Racing League from start to now, maybe?
Yeah, like Anthony says, it's competitive racing. I find them really tricky betting heats to look at. I think the thing that's fascinating is the market, because they're really volatile. Like I've backed horses at sort of 8-1 and they've gone off 20s, and I'm like, wow, I've got that completely wrong. And then also the other way round, and it isn't always spot on. But I like betting on races where you are guaranteed the 3 places, the 8 runners. I really like backing in the Shergar Cup. I know it isn't a betting heat for a lot of people, but I find that the angle of backing certain jockeys in certain races at certain tracks works really well. But I personally, I think I've had about 2 bets in the Racing League this year and they've both lost.
If we look at the situation in the sport, and you touched on it yourself with the Racing League, some people are, this is really good racing, I'm enjoying it as a punter. Others are, this team element doesn't work. If you were sitting down with everyone going, right, let's all have discussion about where we go with the Racing League. What are the positives and the negatives? What would maybe be a change, or what would you like to see the better side of it expanded upon? I mean, I love the fact that there's 6 meetings during the summer with the racing on Thursday night.
Yes.
As a punter, I'd love that almost every Thursday night as someone who's at home on a Thursday night watching sport.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is good. I think a lot of it works. Obviously, they're going to try and change things. They're talking about it coming back again next year, being bigger and better. Obviously, the couple of issues always be the clashes, aren't there? There's always one during Goodwood Week and one during York Week, which perhaps takes something away from it. Although I didn't think so. I thought the Newcastle was still a good meeting. Attendances were good at some tracks and not brilliant at others. The Wolverhampton meeting always seems really well attended, more so than the Yarmouth for some reason. I'm not sure how that works out. Windsor's always a good feel as well. That Thursday night, I thought that really worked. I mean, it wasn't quite a Monday night crowd there, but it was still very busy at Windsor for a Thursday. Chepstow, you always seem to get bad weather for some reason. It always puts a bit of a damper on it. Literally, it does seem to always rain that day. But I think, but there are changes. Would you try different tracks, perhaps? There was talk about moving to the winter, perhaps. Would that work? I'm not so sure, because I think the crowds would be massively down if you did that. I think it's okay. I think the Thursday nights do work. Other people are saying, well, could we do it all like consecutive days or something? I don't know. There's so many people sort of chipping in different ideas, but obviously they'll sit down, have a look at it, get all the figures back and see where do we go. But I think the model works. But obviously, you're not going to have always the best jockeys with Goodwood and York being on. Yeah,
it's a challenge, but there's certainly a lot of positives there. One thing we need to just briefly mention, Champions Full Gallop, first series did quite well. I think attracted 4.3 million viewers, 930,000 viewers per show. Second series is in creation, based on the Jockeys Cup. But worrying news for the future of it because of Flutter's removal of their support for what's to come. So they're saying it's to do with the potentially impending betting tax. Is this a sign of things to come for the industry?
I mean, it's slightly concerning. From Flutter, I would say it's a slight power play. They are known to do things kind of against the grain to make a point Remember when they only took SP on a few sort of meetings in order to make a point around that. But most of this will be shot, won't it? Most of the footage and everything will all be there and ready. So it seems a bit of a strange move, and I just wonder whether it is a bit of a power play in order to get some sort of headlines around it, to be honest.
I suppose, irrespective of the facts and figures of this, it is a worrying time for the sport, Anthony, because this is exactly the sort of thing that a lot of people are fearing.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first sort of news of things coming up. We're going to have more bad news coming in the coming weeks. Of course, we've got our strike day, if you call it the strike day, next week, haven't we? Wednesday, with no racing in the UK. Whether that has any effect, I don't know. Will that make the government sit up and take notice? Will they even bat an eyelid at what we're doing next Wednesday? I don't know. I've not heard any sort of fallback from it yet, but obviously it was a big statement to make, wasn't it? And it's not like we actually the meetings are being moved, aren't they? As such, so not really cancelling racing; they're just sort of being postponed to other days and things. So yeah, I mean, it is worrying though, isn't it? I mean, because I really enjoyed the first series; I thought it was excellent. But obviously, taking that investment away is a concern for the sport going forward.
And something to worry about for the future. We are, though, going to turn the clock back to the last week or so for this week's racing recap. And we start at Sandown. The big race there was the Solario Stakes, or one of the big races, and it turned into a bit of an exciting finish. Unfortunately, Publish didn't take part in the race, but he's likely to run this weekend, so we can talk about him a little bit more. But what it left, Anthony, was a closely knit bunch of two-year-olds, all with exciting futures. What did you make of the way the race unfolded?
Bizarre. I've never seen a finish that close to a group race for a long time, to have sort of four covered by half a length at the line. It was absolutely crazy, wasn't it? I remember watching the race at the time, thinking, Pacific Avenue's going to win, and then he finishes fourth. Then I thought Ocean's 4 was going to spring the upset. Humidity looked the winner, didn't he, about 100 yards out, and then obviously a bit of Spirit, who got beaten at Salisbury in that 3-horse race, bizarrely. Well beaten as well in that race, which was what put me off him a bit. I remember looking at the market going, how is this horse favourite after he got so easily beaten at Salisbury by that Gosden horse? And I was just thinking, so I couldn't have picked the winner, a bit of Spirit, but obviously many people did. He actually went off favourite. You've got to question the form, haven't you? I mean, we've had horses like Field of Gold win this race, haven't we? In the past, or running this race, and then you look at the form, and think, have we seen a classic winner there? Possibly not, but they're four nice types going forward, but you obviously have to question the form that there was probably no superstar in there.
Who was the best horse in the race? The second was eventually placed third, swapping places with Humidity, who finished third, was perhaps a little bit unlucky?
Possibly. The horse I'd take out of it is the fourth, Pacific Avenue. I absolutely loved the Dam Lumiere. She was one of my favourite horses for the last sort of decade or so. But Charlie Appleby was at pains before the race to say that the soft ground might not have suited Pacific Avenue, and it was just that way. He was kind of niggled along early. I'd put that down to the ground and inexperience as opposed to him actually being outpaced. I just thought he was kind of learning on the job, and then made a really good move into the race before weakening late on. Like, if you'd have told me in the final furlong that he'd finish out of the three, I couldn't quite believe it. It'd have been amazing to see the in-running odds throughout, because I imagine all four of them at one stage would have been favourite inside that final furlong. I wouldn't take anything away from A Bit of Spirit. Was described as not the biggest, but a trier. And that's exactly what he was. Fought back tenaciously at the finish. A bit of interference late on with Ocean's 4 leaning into Humidity. I thought he was ready for a step up in trip. I think they're going to go to the Royal Lodge next with him, which is an obvious target. But yeah, I don't think it's going to be a race that we're going to look back on when we're previewing the classics next season. But it's also probably worth remembering that Field of Gold only won this by 3/4 of a length last year from Matari Bay. So horses can progress over the winter, but your concern would be the fact that he wasn't the biggest and probably doesn't have that scope to improve over the winter. It does, though, give a form boost to the two Godolphin horses that beat him on his previous two starts, because we haven't seen either of those yet, Time to Turn and Morris Dancer. So they could actually be the two to take out of the race, even though they didn't run in it.
Well, I think Morris Dancer, the horse that you referred to, beating A Bit of Spirit at Salisbury, I think he could be very exciting. Yeah. Obviously, the run with Zabatiri, that's as good a two-year-old form in Britain anyway. Just a couple of horses that ran in that race, prices for the Guineas with Bet365, both Humidity and A Bit of Spirit are 50-1, if that floats your boat at this stage. The Atalanta Stakes was won by Lady of Spain. She was back in action after a lengthy break. She remains unbeaten, and I must admit, I'm surprised at just how impressive she was considering the layoff.
Yeah, there was lots to dissect in this race, wasn't there? I didn't envy yourself and Megan having to look back through it. You had Skellett clipping heels with Alabea early on in the race, who ran a remarkable race to finish third in the end. I know Alabea was notably weak in the market. I think went off 14s in the end. But looking at the stewards report, she was struck into.
Yeah.
She travelled well into the race and then weakened late on. You've got a reason for that. I checked. Been given an opening handicap mark of 93 after that. Definitely gone in my tracker for that if they go at the handicap route of a mark of 93, because the way that she was weak in the market, the way she travelled into it, and you've got an excuse for the finishing effort, I thought she'd definitely going to prove a triple figure filly going forward. It was interesting to watch because Rab Havlin kind of made the race interesting early on, keeping Spiritual out a bit. That meant that the likes of Flight, Bright Thunder and Blue Bolt were all caught wide. And I thought Ray Dawson actually won the race in the first furlong by taking back and going across and in and saving that ground early. He's obviously had a brilliant weekend on Sadad later on, but I thought it was really good for connections because they've obviously been patient with her. The question mark was going on turf. She'd won all of her races on the all-weather. I looked back in that France victory and actually the second, third and fourth have all won races since. So the form was there, but it was just a concern of whether she could then do this after a 255-day break. But it was tactically wise, the finishing speed percentage was only 93%. So they did go hard early and set it up for a closer. But yeah, the handicapper was impressed, up 7 to 110. Blue Bolt, I thought, ran really well with credit. She was trapped wide. Probably didn't see the winner until the finish either. She's also up 7 to 109. And I do think we've seen two smart fillies going forward.
The Sun Chariot Stakes potentially on the agenda for both horses. The first two, Lady of Spain 10 to 1 with Bet365, Blue Bolt 14 to 1. Skellett, who, as you say, ran okay considering she clipped heels and she'd only had that one run this season, was disappointing. Bounced back 33 to 1 for the Sun Chariot. What was your take on the race, Anthony? What are the horses that you'd want to take out?
Well, like Steve, I liked Alabea in the morning. I actually tipped her up on my website article, like 6 to 1 or something.
Yeah.
And there she is going off, 14s, I think she went off in the end. I couldn't believe. I thought she's got no... If somebody knows she's not going to win, but yeah, I'm not going to give up on her, Alabea. I'm going to stick with her. I think next time she runs, I think she'll be more interesting. But the winner's amazing, isn't she? Because when she won at Wolverhampton, way back in sort of winter 2023, in December, she won a little novice race. Form's not really worked out, but she was 9 to 1 that day. So it's not like she was impressing at home or anything. And again, she's going off at 14 to 1. I mean, when are people going to sort of take note of this horse that she's really good? Yeah. You know, she's 5 out of 5. She's won on the all-weather. She's won on soft ground. She's won on good ground. It's just, I just think she's incredible. And just keeps getting underrated. Blue Bolt's the horse I've followed since her early career. I remember she got beat on a debut, actually. Was it Southall? I think she got beaten at, and then she's really progressed since then. But she's always had a big reputation. But yeah, Lady of Spain, she just for some reason always goes under the radar, doesn't she? Yeah. Even from her first start when she was allowed to go off at 9 to 1 that day, and she won that race first time out. Cajole, I thought ran okay for a while. She probably win a decent race, but yeah, Alabea is the one I'm gonna stick with as well next time she runs, because I remember the Tom Markand interview actually after she won at Yarmouth first time last year. And he was really impressed by her. Yeah. But obviously, this was a big step up, wasn't it, off a long layoff? She probably found it a bit too much. But yeah, the market said it wasn't going to be her day. But as you said, struck into as well on the right hind. So she's going to improve next time.
Yeah, look forward to seeing her. With you on Blue Bolt as well. Thought terrific run. I wonder if they might consider stepping up in trip, because she stayed on really nicely there. She stayed on nicely the time before. And the ground was absolutely fine for her, so she's definitely a horse I'll be continuing to follow. The Beverley Bullet took place on the weekend as well. Regional was obviously the horse to beat, judged on ratings and the form he'd shown this season, but he was virtually pulled up before the end of the race. I spoke to a couple of his owners who were at Sandown on the day, and they said he just hated it, didn't enjoy it. He was fine. That was disappointing for a horse like him.
He hasn't looked the same this year, is he? I think I watched him at Newbury and I thought he's not quite where he was sort of previous years.
No, I must admit, I was surprised that he was running at Beverley. I thought they'd have just kept him for the race that he'd won 2 years ago, which was the Spring Cup. Yeah. But we shouldn't take anything away from the winner, Chagrin. I also thought the runner-up put up a really good effort, given the way the race unfolded at Restia. Yeah,
Restia ran so well at Goodwood, of course, as well. And Ascot, yeah, very good horse. Yeah, Chagrin was impressive though, wasn't it? I mean, the way he sort of got through that gap on the inside, you could call him the winner sort of 2 out because he was going that well. Some others didn't really run their race as well. Red Orange never got into it, but as you say, Regional, the big flop, sent off at around 15 to 8, I think, wasn't he, in the end? Yeah. I thought First Instinct ran okay as well, for the Haggis runner for Joe Mason on. I thought that might be a horse might be able to win a sprint, but again, the division as sprinting as a whole, as we're going to talk about, aren't we, this week with the Sprint Cup, is so difficult to try and unravel. But Chagrin, that was a really impressive turn of foot, and I think he might be a horse going places. Yeah,
when this stable gets a horse that suddenly starts on a roll. I remember Racel ended up going through to Group 2 company. Chagrin looks like he could potentially do something similar.
Yeah, handicap was impressed today. Yeah, up £9 to 108. That's his days in handicaps gone, really. I thought this was a really good ride by Kevin Stott, who was demoted in the first race for interference, and he wasn't scared of going, I'm getting to that rail and going through that gap. So I thought it was a really well-judged ride, finishing speed percentage of 100.2%, so got it absolutely spot on. Chagrin was fastest to 20 miles an hour, had the highest top speed at 41 miles an hour. You kind of look at it now and think, what were you doing over 6 furlongs last time? Because he's got so much speed for this 5 furlong trip. Reversed form with Adrestia and Red Orange from Goodwood earlier this season, albeit obviously that was a handicap where he was then trying to concede weight to them. But yeah, it was a good performance and another one that you can throw into the hat for all these sprints for the remainder of the year.
Could he go to the Champions Day sprint? Would that be a race that might be on there? I didn't really see anything afterwards where they're going to go next with him.
I didn't.
Yeah, I thought this drop to 5 furlongs, I thought that was probably
what he wanted,
what he wanted, as opposed to soft on 6.
Might send him abroad. Might be something.
I think they were talking of Dubai suiting as well, and it would, to be fair, wouldn't it?
Yeah. At Chester, Alonzi beat Table Talk in the Chester Stakes. Now, I thought Table Talk would win. I still thought Table Talk would win when they turned for home. I'm not trusting Table Talk anymore.
I think if you ran the race again, he probably would win. I thought Eddie Greatrex won this race, and I thought he was so good. It's just a complete crawl and sprint. Yeah. They didn't tip below 13-second furlongs until the 9th furlong of this race. If you look at it, Eddie Greatrex had ridden Alonzi twice previously, and on both occasions had made the running. I'm sure after a furlong, he'd have gone, I'm going to win this, because they just allowed him to dictate at such a unpestered lead at such docile fractions. Yeah. Prior to this, her 5 victories all came over 1.5 miles. I just think it was a clever ride as opposed to the best horse actually winning this race. She was only 3rd best on finishing speed percentage, and that was 113%, and had only the 5th fastest top speed. So, I just think this is one that Eddie Greatrex can sit at home and go, yep, I nicked that, thank you very much.
Yeah, he did. It was a terrific ride. But in the context, I still say Table Talk, can't entirely trust him. The run prior to that, where he travels like he's going to win and he comes there and then he just falls away.
I've long since given up on Table Talk, to be honest. I was with Alsakib in the race, and whereas you said, I thought Eddie Greatrex excelled on Alonzi. I didn't think it was PJ's best ride. I think he'd admit that on Alsakib. I mean, we know how short the straight is at Chester, and he was just too far behind. He was sort of looking for a bit of room on the inside, then he goes to the outside. But as you say, the ride on Alonzi was brilliant. I think Alsakib, though, is better than that run suggests. So I'd look out for him. I think he'll win a race before the end of the season somewhere. But Eddie Greatrex, what a great weekend. The winner at Goodwood, I think, the previous weekend. He won the big race, actually, at the Racing League on Thursday, the 50 grand race, on a horse called Sheridan for Ian Williams at Southall. So he's picked up another big pot here. So, he's a jockey. He gave up, didn't he, a couple of seasons ago?
This is his first listed win for 4 years.
Incredible. Yeah, he's very talented.
Yeah, very good.
Good family. Strong racing family. Other good races, both in Britain and Ireland, particularly over the weekend. But there was one horse at Sandown, I think we would all agree, he only won a handicap, but he has got an entry in the Champion Stakes later on the season. Sedan. Yes. He's exciting.
I can claim that I spotted him early because I was at Southall when he won. Yes. It was a freezing cold sort of Saturday twilight meeting in December. And so all the focus was on the jumps racing that day, and a horse called Sadad came out and won that day. Jack Mitchell rode him. I remember thinking, that was pretty good. Because I've called like a lot of really good horses in their early races, like Baid when he won, I think, second time. I think I called Golden Horn when he won at Nottingham, when he obviously as a 2-year-old.
The debut, I was actually there working that day. That was one of the most.
It wasn't quite that feeling, but it wasn't. This horse is better than going to be better than a handicapper, and I think he will be. Obviously, it was strange we didn't see him, did we? Because the London Gold Cup's always the best 3-year-old handicap early part of the year, and then I'm thinking, this horse is going to go to Royal Ascot, he's going to go to Goodwood, and then we didn't see him. But what a performance, the way he travelled. And again, when it looked like he was going to be challenged, when he straightened him out again, he just found a bit more, didn't he? And he galloped right through the line. So, yeah, he's definitely a pattern horse, isn't he? So
yes, he is a pattern horse. Don't think he's quite ready for Champion Stakes yet. I don't think Connections think that yet. But given the pedigree, Al Makam, etc., he could go very, very far. And it was interesting that Ray Dawson was talking about the ground, saying, I think he appreciates this ground, but he doesn't have to have it bottomless. He doesn't need desperate winter ground.
No, that's the interesting thing, because they've been so patient in order to wait for the ground. Like Anthony, he was in the tracker and just waiting for Royal Ascot, Goodwood, York, but they've sat on their hands. They've gone, no, we're going to wait until a bit of juice in the ground, obviously being related to Al Makam, who obviously wants to cut in the ground as well. But I was really impressed with this. Apparently they're going to go kind of a softly approach, either the Doonside Cup at Ayr or the Fortune Stakes at Goodwood next. So just taking those small steps up the ladder. He's gone up 5 to 106, so that's his days in handicaps done, really. I think it's interesting because Anthony then touched on how well he hit the line, but if you look at his stride length, it was the shortest of the whole field. So I like looking at stride length with regards to going up or down in trip. And to have the shortest stride length and still win the race, I thought was quite fascinating, really. Only 6.76 metres covering, giving the impression that 10 furlongs definitely is his trip. So, yeah, just bear that in mind, dependent on where they go next.
Okay, he's quite exciting for the future. Anything else? Maybe some action in Ireland?
Queen of Hawaii was one that I was really impressed by in the Group 3 there at the Curragh.
Yeah.
And also the other race, the Mission Central, it was the second horse. That
the Round Tower,
wasn't it? Yeah, in the Round Tower, the second horse of Joseph's, the Publican's Son.
Yeah.
Looks like a horse that's going to be quite good. But Mission Central was tough out in front. But yeah, trying to keep an eye on it. It was a good meeting actually, wasn't it? And Red Letter I was impressed by as well.
Yeah.
Because I thought, watching Red live, I thought, well, she's not going to win. When she got sort of shut on the inside, and then had to switch out of, San Gazelle's got the jump on her, she's going to get beat. But the way she sort of dug it out and Gary Carroll didn't sort of panic. Yeah, I think she's going to be winning a better race in the Group 3 before the end of the year.
Annoying on a personal level, I tipped San Gazelle and backed her, and I thought exactly like you.
Yeah.
So when they passed the furlong, I thought, there's no way Red Letter's
There wasn't
going
enough
to get
time,
out.
was there, for her to do that?
She's not going to have enough time to get out and do that. And actually, she won quite convincingly. I thought, hang on a second, either San Gazelle's just not that good, or Red Letter's actually pretty decent. I mean, fairness, Connections have always said she's very good.
Yeah, I mean, they started off with the 1,000 guineas, and you kind of worried that her season was going to go the wrong way, didn't you? But yeah, she's won a previous 2 starts. Looking at her entry, she's entered in the Matron, but she's also entered in the Blandford Stakes over a mile and 2. And given how she needed every yard of the mile trip at Killarney, and then needed every yard of the mile and 1 here to beat San Gazelle, I thought that's likely to be her next destination over a mile and 2 next. But it's nice to see her back to form. Just back to the Sadad race, I wouldn't give up on Danger Man, who finished third.
Really good run.
I was lucky to be at Sandown when he won last time, and I just thought, going up in class, I thought stepping up to a mile and a half next time would be the making of him, really. Just was under pressure, one of the first off the bridle over 10 furlongs up in class, and the handicap has left him unchanged on 89, and I thought if they find a race for him over a mile and a half next, he'd probably be a likely winner.
And I also thought Castle Cove, actually when they crossed the line, my initial reaction was I was a little bit disappointed how Castle Cove finished, but actually he was a little bit hampered by how the race went. So I'd give Castle Cove, keep him in mind for anything
I think
to
that was a really strong handicap.
Yeah.
I think, you can probably track the first 4 or 5 in that. And
anything else from the last week that you wanted to touch on?
Yeah, I think we've got to mention Wimbledon Hawkeye, haven't we? Who won the biggest purse that any horse trained in the UK by some way. Was £887,840.
Yes.
I think it was $3.5 million the prize, but I think $1.5 million was just for Kentucky bred, so obviously you didn't get that. So you got the share, you got the $2 million, slightly less. So you got 887,000 sterling. Not a bad payday for Wimbledon Hawkeye. You'd have to win a lot of races over here, wouldn't he, to land that sort of great bit of placing. I'm just bemused why nobody else went for that race. I mean, it's not. I mean, I know it costs, 15k or whatever to travel the horse, but it's not the hardest place to get to, I wouldn't think, for flying a horse over. But brilliant ride. Tory, he had 4 winners on Sunday as well. He was on one of those streaks. He just goes bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
He had a 14-1 winner, 8-1 winner, and 7-1 winner consecutively. It was like the old days again. He was coming, but again, because it's an undulating turf track, he rides it well. And the American jockeys were like, "Whoa, what's this?" And he was just like out. He was just brilliant. Word for Ben Curtis as well. He rode a big prize winner also on Sunday. He gets forgotten about a little bit out there, but he's obviously he excels on turf tracks as well, as he would do with his upbringing in Ireland and over here. So yeah, but Wimbledon Hawkeye definitely. He was the biggest winner, I think, of the weekend in terms of cash, anyway.
Echo those sentiments, in particular about Dettori. I know some people are still a bit cynical about the way Dettori's career finished here, but regardless of all of that, in the saddle, he was one of the greats, still is.
His timing on that 4-timer, the way he just knew when to challenge, where to challenge, and just sort of drops the horse in front in the last 50 is incredible.
Might get some call-ups from Aidan O'Brien at the Breeders' Cup this year.
Well, I was joking about this the other day. I was saying, obviously, I'm not sure about Christophe. Is Christophe Soumillon riding Lazy Griff in the Ledger still?
I believe so,
not anymore, I don't think.
Well, I mean, that was the agreement, wasn't it, with Charlie Johnston? And then, of course, Wayne Lorden's out
suspended.
He's out. Obviously, Ryan on the sideline. Frankie, of course, won Scorpion.
Yeah.
That's partly one of the reasons why...
That was quite a controversial one, wasn't it?
Exactly. That's how he ended up getting the tin tack from Godolphin.
He's got to use Frankie, isn't he? Because obviously Ryan's not going to be ready for the Breeders' Cup. I think you've got to be thinking Dettori's going to pick up some choice. Because he's ridden for him quite a lot in recent years. So I'm thinking he's going to get some choice rides out there.
Yeah. Did you watch the Jockey Club Gold Cup, by the way,
I did.
well? What was your view of that? Just remind people what happened.
Right, Kendrick Cummings was riding a horse drawn on the outside that took a massive... It was really aggressive. I can't believe he got a 5-day ban for that. That's all he got. 5 days. It was the most dangerous bit of riding I've ever seen.
There's some extraordinary bans. There's the ban of the non-trier, which was actually not that bad by non-triers the other day, which he got a year suspension for. And then this one, 5 days.
5 days. Sure, he would have got like 28 days over here. So he's basically come right across. He's sandwiched 2 horses. Ired Ortiz was riding Mindframe, second favourite, big fancy for the race for Todd Pletcher. Has no room, has nowhere to go. He almost gets on White Barrier. I think he actually was sitting on White Barrier, wasn't he? A horse he's ridden before, of course, with one of the Pegasus on him. So he got on him to try and stay afloat, and then obviously gravity told, and White Barrier moved left in the air. Yeah, and he landed. But he was cleared to ride actually last night at Saratoga, but he's coming back Thursday, I think, Kentucky Downs. He's coming back, but it was amazing he escaped serious injury.
So I'll just give you the betting for the Breeders' Cup Classic, Anthony, as things stand. Sovereignty is a 13-8 favourite with Bet365. Sierra Leone 5-1. Fierceness 8-1. Journalism now 10s. Mindframe 10s. Forever Young, the Japanese contender who's run well on a number of occasions stateside, 12-1. Antiquarian, winner of the Jockey Club Gold Cup, 14-1, along with Nisos. Baeza 20s, 25s. But Delacroix's in there, 33s. I'm not sure he'll end up in that race. How would you play the Breeders' Cup Classic now with Bet365 with those odds?
I've always been a massive Sovereignty fan, and I must admit I do think anything bigger than 6-4 I would back him at, because I think he's going to confirm the form with Journalism again. He always beats Journalism. I think we kind of know that now. Can he beat the older horses? Fierceness he's interesting. He's a bit hit or miss though, isn't he? I mean, I fancied him last year, and he got beat by Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone's a horse I could never get right. I was with him so many times last year. Kentucky Derby, I was with him, and he obviously didn't quite win Upsides Forever Young, of course, wasn't it? They came together a few times.
He was a bit naughty for Forever Young.
Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone's very quirky, but no, I'd stick with Sovereignty. I'd be amazed if he's as big as 13-8 come the 1st of November. All
right. Did you keep an eye on any of the American action over the weekend?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I watched a couple of big races. The only question mark I have around Sovereignty is he's kind of beaten one horse this year, and that's Journalism, who then let the form down. So, yeah, before piling in at a short price. Yeah. But, yeah, dirt racing's not really my game.
OK. What else caught your eye on turf, maybe? Or the all-weather, who knows?
The only other one was the Jim Boyle newcomer, that the name escapes me.
Into the Sky.
That's the one.
He's on the list here, yeah.
80-1. And it was a one-horse race from about halfway, wasn't it?
Yeah. Again, lucky enough to have Ray Dawson on Luck on Sunday on the weekend when I was presenting. And Ray Dawson said, I was down at the start for that race, and he was riding a horse of James Ferguson's. He said, I'm down there, and all of a sudden this thing comes alongside. And he said, the horse is so massive, he's enormous, Into the Sky. And then Jim Boyle was saying on the same show that the Mill Reef might be the plan for him, if they can keep him in the yard. Because you can imagine they've had a lot of offers. Yeah. Another progeny of Starman.
Starman, yeah.
Yeah, who's had an extraordinary season.
Amazing.
Anything Into the Sky? Anything else?
No, that was it.
One other 2-year-old I'm going to mention, which is D-Day Diva, who won at Sandown. Alan King said might be the best, certainly 2-year-old filly that he's had, and she was pretty impressive in the way she knuckled down to things. I think she'll see out a little bit further as well, but she could be quite interesting. And that has been this week's A Racing Recap. Now, before we get into our weekend preview, just to let you know that our sponsor, Bet365, have a best odds guaranteed offer. It's available on every single UK and Irish race from 8 a.m. on the day of the race. If you take a price and the SP is bigger, Bet365 will pay you at the bigger odds. Full T's and C's can be found on the website. So we look ahead to the weekend now, and obviously Haydock is the main focus of attention, and the big race there is the Sprint Cup. Now, what will eventually run in the race, I'm not certain, but as things stand right now, it could be an absolute belter. With Bet365, Lazat is the 2-1 favourite. Almerac, who last ran in a handicap, Air is 8-1. Time for Sandals, 8-1. No half measures, 10-1. Obviously, Lazat, Time for Sandals and No Half Measures, all Group 1 winners of the season. Sky Majesty for the Haggis team also, 10-1. Big Mojo, 12s. Kind of Blue, 12s. Saida Darian, 12s. And 16 bar those. Anthony, where do you start and how long will your shortlist be?
I was looking at the weather first of all for Haydock at the weekend. It's going to be rain Wednesday, bit on Thursday. It says dry Friday with some sunny spells, and Saturday just cloudy. So it looks like it's not going to be that soft, if that forecast is correct. Lazat's the talking horse here, isn't he? I mean, he was brilliant at Royal Ascot. That performance was electric. I was disappointed he got beat in France because I was thinking we need a horse to say, I am the best sprinter in Europe. And I thought Lazat is that horse. And then he got beat by Sajir, who was a real shock winner, wasn't he, of the race at Deauville, the Maurice de Geest last time. Is he a bit between trips? But that 6.5 should have been ideal for him, shouldn't it, at Deauville? Yeah. And the fact he got beat there, it's just left me with a bit of a doubt about him because I thought he was the top sprint sort of 6 furlong horse, 6 to 7 furlong horse. So I'm probably not going to be with him at a very short price. I thought the July Cup winner, No Half Measures. I know Richard Hughes was saying if the rain comes, then it would suit No Half Measures more than his other horse. Are we just sort of writing off that July Cup win as a complete fluke for this filly? It was a massive step up. She's got course form at Haydock. I know she got beaten, didn't she, the time before at the end of May by Balmoral Lady. But, you know, she goes off a silly price, sort of 12, 14 to 1. I'd have to have a few quid each way on her because I think she's overpriced. I mean, when could you back a July Cup winner in the Sprint Cup at sort of double figure odds? It's very unusual. Yeah,
10-1 with Bet365, No Half Measures. The other Richard Hughes horse, Saida Darian, who ran in the Nunthorpe last time, 12-1. What about you, Steve? How many horses have you narrowed it down to?
I mean, a complete agreement with Anthony. I've backed one horse for this, and it's No Half Measures. So obviously the sprints have been a bit of a mess this year. It's hard to predict. So I thought I'd run through some trends to see if that would help me. So 11 of the previous 12 winners were rated 109 or higher. 9 of the previous 12 winners had won at least one race at group level. 9 of the previous 12 winners had 3 wins over 6 furlongs. 7 of the previous 12 were aged 4 or older, including the previous 5. So 3-year-olds have struggled recently in the race. 5 of the previous 12 had won their previous start, and 5 of the previous 12 had at least one victory at Haydock in their career. And the only one that No Half Measures doesn't tick there is the Haydock victory. But she did, like Anthony said, run really well on her penultimate start. She was beaten, I think, half a length over 5 furlongs, and we now know that she is better over 6 furlongs. She's raced over that trip 5 times. Her only defeat came when second on debut, and she's won her previous 4. I thought there was absolutely no fluke around the July Cup win. Arguably, I thought you could upgrade it with where she raced on the track. And, you know, I thought 10-1 was very, very fair around her. I'd agree around Lazat. I thought that race should have suited perfectly. I thought the stiff 6 furlong, the finish at Ascot would suit better. Haydock's a bit of a quirky track. I know it shouldn't be, but it is.
It's more speed favouring, isn't it?
Yeah. And I just thought No Half Measures, given that previous 5 furlong form, given the fact that she hits all the trends, I thought you have to back her at a double figure price.
All right. Wow, okay.
Well,
Are you going to agree?
I must admit that I didn't find it that straightforward to pin one down.
Okay.
Because you look through every single horse and you go, oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see Lazat coming back. I can see Almerac. If William Haggis decides to run this horse in this race, it's because he thinks this horse can win it, not because he's going there to see how good he is. It's because he thinks he can win it. Because he could go to a handicap, could go to the Air Gold Cup and win a huge prize. So I don't know whether he's going to go for that. I still think it's... Jim Crowley is jocked up on Almerac, isn't he? So that confuses me. I really like Kind of Blue's comeback.
What's happened to Kind of Blue? Because last year I remember thinking, this is the race for him this year. I can't believe the first run in France. Okay, excuse that. It was a terrible start, wasn't it? Then the Newcastle run
was terrible.
Yeah, better in Ireland last time.
Much better. He travelled well and actually finished the race off okay.
Yeah.
Even though Bucanera Fuerte got away from him, he finished off the race better.
He's still 8 or 9 pounds below last year's form.
He's not quite there, but James Fanshawe is a brilliant trainer, and he's clearly getting him back to something like his best. Flora of Bermuda, at this sort of ground and this trip, this sort of ground this time of the year, I can see her bouncing back to form. But there's a horse that I'm going to play at a big price, which is James's Delight, who finished 8th in the Champions Sprint last year. He was at the back of the field, stayed on really strongly under Ryan Moore rode him that day. He's one of those horses that won. He won a handicap. He won that handicap at York, and you're thinking he's going to progress into. And then he's had 2 disappointing runs at the start of the season, but finally bounced back to form in Ireland last time. And if you watch the run in Ireland, he's way too keen in the early part of the race. The first 2 furlongs of that 6-furlong race, he's out of the rider's hands, and then eventually he settles down. But he's still good enough to beat some useful sprinters, not quite at the level of this, obviously. A part of me is wondering, and I'd love to speak to Clive Cox about it, did they try to get him to be more, to be a bit sharper out of the gates? And that's part of the reason why he hasn't quite clicked so far this season until last time. So I'm hoping in a better class of race, ground is fine, whatever it comes up actually, but with a bit of juice in the ground would be absolutely fine for him. Strong pace, he's 32-1, and there's not that much between him and some of the other better sprinters in the race. And of course, he's trained by Clive Cox, who at the moment is absolutely
Solario Stakes
zinging
connections,
along.
aren't they? Owners as well.
Yeah.
So
Solario Stakes.
2 big Saturdays in a row.
Yeah, absolutely. They had a really smart 2-year-old the day before as well. The name escapes me.
Yeah.
Study of something, is it? That beat.
Was that the one for Owen Barrows?
Yeah, so the owners are having a great time as well.
I don't think Whistle Jacket's going to run, is he? Just reading Aidan's quote, I think he's going to go to the car instead. So I'm thinking, because he would have been interesting for this race potentially, because he was a very good 2-year-old, wasn't he? But he's a bit in and out, Whistle Jacket, isn't he? He runs the odd sort of stinker for some reason.
So
you're James's Delight.
No half measures and 1 each way selection for
nobody
for
going for Lazat. Interesting.
2-1.
No, it doesn't float the boat, does it?
No, 2-1 is thin for Lazat, especially after what you say about last time, that Sajir defeat behind Sajir. Okay, so that's the Haydock Park Sprint Cup. The Old Borough Cup, which also takes place on Saturday at Haydock. The Reverend is the 5-1 favourite with Bet365. Caballo de Mar is 7-1. Shadow Dance 7-1. Stress Free 7-1. Dancing in Paris 8s. Dramatic Star 8s, along with Paddy the Squire, and 10-1. Bar those. Steve, you get first crack at this one.
Yeah, it's a really competitive race. I could have, again, made a case for 3 or 4 here. I then look back at the trends. Ian Williams won this race 2 years in a row in 2018 and 2019. And he's got a strong hand in it this year. Dancing in Paris is the shortest price of those. Looks the obvious each-way bet for me, around 8-1. Finished second behind French Master at Goodwood prior to that horse winning at Royal Ascot. Finished second in the Northumberland Plate, and then finished second, beaten only half a length by Sam Hawkins at Newmarket. Last time, ran well to finish 4th behind Santorini Star off this mark of 94. £7 higher than when finishing 3rd this year, but he has progressed. Safi Osborne's all once again booked for the ride. So I thought he was the one that you're sure will run the race and be involved in the finish. And then interestingly, Billy Loughnane's booked on both One for the Gutter and Enemy for the same connections. If they were to run One for the Gutter, I'd probably have a bit of a saver around 20-1 for him. Was 6th in it last year, again off a £7 lower mark, but has progressed. Won the Bet365 trophy at Newmarket when Real Dream was 3rd. Real Dream went on to finish 5th in the Ebor. One for the Gutter himself disappointed in the Ebor, but as a result, you're getting a bigger price. And yeah, I thought in a competitive contest, I thought Dancing in Paris would be number 1, but a small saver on One for the Gutter.
Okay, Dancing in Paris 8-1 with Bet365. One for the Gutter 20-1 with Bet365. Anthony, what do you like here?
I'm hoping Paddy the Squire runs. Okay. I really like this horse. I was up on my sort of northeast Scotland trip a couple of weeks ago, and he won the £100,000 Lanark Silver Bell Hamilton. That's another race that a lot of trainers seem to ignore for some reason. That sort of prize money. It was a great win that day for Ian Jardine. Andrew Mullen gave him a lovely ride. He's just a really good horse, Pat. He's really likeable. He travels. He finds the pressure. And there was a point when he thought, is he going to win this race? And he went again about 150 yards out. And I like him. I think he's got a really big race in him. Obviously, he's already won a 100 grand race, so he's had a good season, whatever. And Shadow Dance was the other one. He, of course, won, didn't he, at, was it Doncaster or York last season?
He won at York, got
Yeah.
finished third behind Haydock at Doncaster.
Yes. So it's his time of year, isn't it? And he's had those 2 runs now for Roger Varian, of course, has had a good weekend last weekend.
Yeah.
So Shadow Dance and Paddy the Squire, hopefully one of those 2 runs. They're the 2 I'm looking at anyway.
You can tell I like Shadow Dance, the fact that I was able to reel off those 2 runs at the back end of last season. I like Shadow Dance. The comeback run at Goodwood, ideal, set him up for the Ebor. Things just went against him. The other interesting angle for me is D'Souza off. Buick has been booked to ride Shadow Dance. I like Silvestre D'Souza, but his rides, his best rides are when he can be forceful,
aggressive,
and he can
sprints,
be aggressive.
I really like him, miles races.
Shadow Dance needed a little bit more finesse through the early stages of the Ebor, and he didn't really get that. He was in a little bit of a pocket, and I think he actually stumbled at one point in the race.
Has Buick ridden a lot for Varian? I couldn't find many times he's ridden for him.
Not a great deal.
That was interesting.
But I noticed that booking quite significant. I think his style, quiet, which is the sort of ride that he got in his comeback run at Goodwood, where he was finishing off the race nicely first time back this season after a layoff. So he was my selection. The September Stakes, it could be Kalpana taking the Enable route to Arc success, maybe. She is the 8-11 favourite for the September Stakes. Giovanotto is 9-4, and then Military Academy 10s, 12-1, Arabian Crown, the now gelded Palladium 14-1. Maybe having a prep for a run over hurdles, and 16-1 Bardos. Kalpana.
Hard to oppose, I think, isn't she? She looks, I mean, she's my idea of the Arc winner still, so I mean, if I've got a fancy for the Arc, I think she's got to win this race at Group 3 level. Colin Keane obviously going to be riding her, with thoughts of riding her in the Arc, obviously. Obviously got beat by World, didn't she, in Ireland. I thought her run in the King George was excellent. I think she brings very good form to the table. And, of course, she has got all-weather form as well, hasn't she, on her card?
Yeah. She won this race last year, didn't she?
Do you remember when she got beat by Inisherin at Newcastle?
Yeah.
That turned out. How did Inisherin and Kalpana ever meet in a race?
Oh, honestly,
just bizarre.
I can't believe you're bringing this race up, because the third that day is a horse called Rogue Encore, who we thought was going to be
one of the best ever novice races to be running.
We've been living off that going. Well, eventually he's going to make up the £30 difference between him and those 2 horses now.
But watching it, Inisherin was strong through the line, and Kalpana wasn't. You'd have thought the other way, but they've gone the completely other way, haven't they? But no, obviously she's got form on all weather. She won at Kempton as well, didn't she?
She won this race
last year.
4 3/4 lengths.
It's perfect. I'm not a fan of backing sort of 4 to 6, 8 to 13 in the first race on the Saturday, because it could be a long afternoon afterwards. But no, she should win, shouldn't she? I think.
Well, yes, but Giovanotto is also unbeaten on the all-weather. He's 2 from 2, including his debut at Kempton, where he won a rather big prize.
Yeah, both of those were both in novice races. So yes, one his debut and then one under a penalty. But he's really interesting. If I could find a quote of why we haven't seen him since the Coronation Cup, I'd be tempted to back him.
Yeah.
Because I think he's a really smart horse. He was obviously a stayer early on in his career, but he's kind of found that extra bit of pace, and actually his best 2 performances have come over the 1.5-mile trip, both his Group 2 victory in the Princess of Wales Stakes last year and his victory in the Hong Kong Vars. And it's just a concern for me, for a horse that likes fast ground, the fact that we haven't seen him for this time, because you've missed all of the big engagements where you could have easily been running in races over 1.5 miles on fast ground. So, yeah, if I see a quote on there, I wouldn't really entertain backing him at 9-4. I imagine Kalpana's going to be strong in the market here. If you could get sort of 3-1 and each way 2 places, I'd be half tempted to do that, because I do think he's a really, really smart horse. And
Ashley Murphy's going there to ride him as well, isn't he? Because Ashley could have gone to Haydock.
Yeah.
I think he had lots of offers for the Sprint Cup, but it looks like he's going to Kempton to ride Military Code and Sarina as well, I think.
Yes.
As well as this horse.
Charlie Appleby.
But this isn't a 2-horse race, because you've got Military Academy, who obviously won a listed race over the course and distance last season. You've got Palladium running for the first time since being gelded and on the all-weather. You've got Maidan, you've got Arabian Crown, Candleford and Tasmania, all as potential challenges. So it does look a strong contest, but I can just see it's going to be tactically quite fascinating of when Colin Keane pushes the button, because Ashley Murphy, I assume, will track, and Giovanotto travels well in his races, and I don't think this is a sort of race that I'd be wanting back in Kalpana at odds on, given that the Arc has been that long-term target for the whole season.
Yeah, that's a fair call, but she is the standout horse, and Enable sort of Crystal Ocean all those years
What a
ago.
race that was.
It's a good Group 3, isn't it?
Yeah. Kalpana on her way to the Arc, and what a race that will be. The Superior Mile also takes place this weekend, back up at Haydock. Opera Ballo, we're all excited about seeing him, hopefully. 11 to 10 favourite with Bet365. Make Me King 5 to 1, Ice Max 7s, Prague 10s, Snowmaster 10s, along with Sweet Francais and 12s, bar those. What do you like here? Is it Opera Ballo if he turns up?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? If he turns up, they pulled him out on soft last time. I imagine it'll be sort of good to soft ground, and we've touched on this many times on the show so far. I like the fact that they are going softly this year, because I do think he is a horse of immense potential, but he does also have his own ideas around the game. He's full of talent, but also needs to channel it in the right ways. I thought Prague was slightly overpriced at a double-figure price. Has been slightly disappointing so far this season, but I do think there's reasons why. Started off over 7 furlongs in the Criterion, now ran at York, of course, behind Quinault, who's ran well since. Lethal Levi was second that day and has won a listed race on his next start. Lake Forest was behind him and obviously was slightly unlucky in the City of York on the next time. So that wasn't as disappointing as you thought over a trip that was too short. He was then fourth behind Never So Brave at Ascot, who's gone on to win the City of York, and then was far too keen at Pontefract last time when given a bit of a bizarre ride by Jim Crowley. I think he wanted to have the lead rather than Point Linus have an easy lead like he did the previous year, and they just kind of both cut each other's throats. So I'd write both of those runs off. Now, if you go back and watch the race last year, I thought he should have beaten Holloway Boy, to be honest. Was just caught in a pocket and didn't get out in time and was staying on well at the finish. Before that, he'd won on soft at Newmarket, so if there is any rain, that will obviously suit him. I do think it could cut up. I do expect them to take their chance with Opera Ballo, but Sheikh Mohammed Abeid has a couple in here, so you'd imagine will only run one. And for a horse with form at the track, will handle the ground, and is even bang up there on ratings for a revised rating of 109. He's been dropped £7 so far in his 3 runs this year.
Yeah.
So even off that rating of 109, he'd be in with a chance. And I was surprised to see him at a double-figure price.
Yeah, Prague is 10 to 1 with Bet365 for the Superior Mile. There's one horse in here that I keep looking at if Opera Ballo doesn't run. It's Zeus Olympius, who's 2 from 2.
Yeah.
First time at Kempton, he was very, very green, and then eventually runs away from them. And then he won at Thirsk, where he beat Due West, who I think is due to run this week. Due West, so I'll be keeping an eye just to make sure. But again, he won really easily. He's got a very strong pedigree, very flashy. Looks like the minstrel, big white face, 4 white socks. Not quite Diego Velasquez, but he is quite flashy, Zeus Olympius. He's definitely in my calculations if he gets the go-ahead for the race. What about you, Anthony?
Opera Ballo is a horse I love. I called one of his Kempton wins early in the season, and I was just like, wow, what's just happened there? He sort of went from being a length ahead to like 8 lengths ahead. It was like whoosh. And it was like, wow, I don't see that too often during a cold sort of January or February night. He was very impressive. There was his one blip was the Craven, wasn't it? Where he didn't really like the dip and things went wrong for him behind Field of Gold. I think he's ground dependent. He doesn't want any sort of soft though, does he? In the description, the race for him, it's clear that the Breeders' Cup Mile is the race, isn't it, for Opera Ballo? He's still 10 to 1, I think, in places. I think Del Mar would suit him. It's going to be good. It's going to be fast ground. Yeah. He's got that cruising speed, short straight at Del Mar. You know, I can just see him. That's the race for him up against the likes of Henri Matisse. So I think he's better than. Yeah. So you know, I wouldn't tip him up because I don't think it's going to be his. I hope he doesn't run him really if it gets soft because I don't want to see him sort of floundering again on ground he doesn't like. So long term, Opera Ballo, Breeders' Cup Mile, definitely.
Yeah.
I like the horse you mentioned, Zeus Olympius. I was really impressed by that Thirsk win, actually. Yeah. So, yeah, it wouldn't be a betting race for me. But if the Ballo runs, I hope he wins again because I think he's that horse with star potential, isn't he?
He really is. 10 to 1, as you say, for the Breeders' Cup Mile, for which Charlie Appleby has the favourite at the moment. Notable speech at 9 to 2, but he's not averse to having a couple of horses running in the race. Okay, anything else for the weekend? And there are lots of other punting opportunities this weekend. At Ascot, at Kempton, at Haydock. What have you got lined up elsewhere?
The Ascot card I was looking at, it does look a bit tricky, doesn't it, Ascot? Difficult to know what's definitely going to be running there. There's a couple of interesting races though on that Kempton card as well. You remember we've mentioned obviously the September Stakes has been a race. I'm hoping that Ice Sovereigns, Charlie Johnson runs again in the nursery. I know it's a quick turnaround, but she's in again there on Saturday. She's a horse that really thrives on racing. She's gone back to back. I think she's still in the nursery at the moment there on Saturday. If she runs, I think she would be interesting. And it's the London Mile Series, isn't it? The final of that, which I've been kind of following fairly closely. Yes. Dash of Azure is the horse I like in that. If he runs for Rafe Beckett, he won first time out on the all-weather, hasn't run as well on turf, but I think he's a horse that's potentially well handicapped too. Tony Bloom owns him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Steve, this weekend?
So on Thursday you've got the Dickpool Stakes at Salisbury. It's a really strong. I've just checked the decks now. Anthelia, Flowerhead, Golden Palace, and Awaken.
Right.
Awaken would be the one for me. I imagine she'll be favourite in that, but she was second behind Venetian Sun in the Albany Stakes, who's obviously gone on to win the Duchess of Cambridge and the Prix Morny since. The fourth that day, Fitzeller obviously won the Princess Margaret and finished second in the Prix de Calvados at Deauville last time. And even the form of her win at Leicester when she was 12s on got boosted. The runner-up has won on her next start, and the third has won her next two races. So Awaken, I think, will prove hard to beat in the Dickpool Stakes at Salisbury on Thursday. Publish didn't run in the Solario Stakes, gets rerouted to the Ascendant Stakes on Saturday at Haydock, pending the ground. That could be a strong contest. Aidan O'Brien has three leading contenders. Obviously, you'd imagine only runs one. Doesn't usually target this race, so whether any of them turn up is obviously a question mark. I would give a shout to Las Vegas. Who was around 20 to 1 with Bet365 at the time we're recording, was awarded the race at Sandown when Corinth obviously leaned across and was demoted. That rival obviously has form tied in with Publish by their debuts. I thought that win was absolutely no fluke for Las Vegas and that he is a talented colt, and I thought he was the one that was overpriced currently for that race. In the 225 at Haydock, the Marlin 6 handicap, it's the plays in a different league on oddschecker. In the anti-post section. Master Builder won this race last year, having finished third in the Melrose. And Fantasy World has a similar profile this year. Has won two races prior to finishing fifth at York in the Melrose last time. Just got outpaced at a crucial time on a day where it was hard to make up ground. PJ McDonald's jocked up and hopefully can get back to winning ways in that. And then I'll keep my best bet at Ascot.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll mention one horse that is also due to run in the Ascendant Stakes. If Publish runs, fine. But I really like Bo Echo of George Bowie's. He was hugely impressive on his debut at Newbury. The pedigree, it's Night of Thunder, and on the dam side goes back to Zomarada. I think she's a Grand Dam. And of course, Zomarada is the dam of Dubawi. So it's a really strong Sheikh Mohammed Obeid pedigree, and I love the way this horse won first time up. He could not have been more impressive. But there was more substance to it than some of the flashier wins, and I'm just excited to see where he runs next. He could be I think he could be a star, so I'm keeping an eye. If he lines up for the Ascendant Stakes, Bo Echo.
Have you got a yellow and black spotted tie ready for Saturday?
Someone actually sent a yellow and black after I'm not going to mention his name.
You're not?
No, I'm not going to mention his name. After I kept going on about that very unlucky miler this season, someone has sent at Royal Ascot. Someone sent a shirt, a Sheikh Mohammed Obeid shirt, and I have worn it when he's run, but it hasn't brought us any luck yet. So I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to go and just hope. I'll be there at Haydock on Saturday to watch Bo Echo run and hopefully win. I like the horse a lot. The London Mile Series final, I'll just mention one horse running in that, and that is Dragon Icon, who has seduced me for a very long time. Another Roger Varian horse. He's run, I think he ran in the German Guineas, and then had a long layoff, came back, and it's been a slow progression. But he ran one of his better races last time at Kempton in preparation for this. Again, Silvestre de Sousa did the prep, so I'm hoping he's done a great job with Dragon Icon. I'll give him a chance in that race. He's currently 7 to 1 with Bet365, behind Maybe Not, who's a 6 to 1 favourite. Okay, and I will keep my best bet, which runs in the Sprint Series final at Kempton on the weekend as well. But before we get into our best bets of the weekend, just to let you know of a free-to-play 6 horses challenge. It's available every weekend with free spins on offer if you get 2 or 3 selections correct. Prize pools are available for 5 and 4 correct predictions, as well as a jackpot for all 6. T's and C's apply. So it's time for our best bets of the weekend. Anthony Ennis is our guest, so he has the floor first of all, Anthony.
Okay, I'm going for what looks for the toughest races of the weekend for my best bet. It's the 7 furlong Ascot handicap. Now, Native Warrior is the favourite of this race, who I was thinking of tipping, but I'm going to go for another Warrior, Strong Warrior, in that race instead. Now, Native Warrior got a typical Sumion ride at Goodwood. Wasn't really aggressive enough on the horse and finished third in that race that Great Acclaim won, who's won again since. I think form's okay, but Strong Warrior is definitely an interesting horse. Carries the Sheikh Rashid Dalmook colours, the yellow. He's a colt by Memas. He hasn't run since Royal Ascot behind Time for Sandals, who obviously runs in the Group 1 at the weekend. I think this horse is a bit better than the handicap. That was the Commonwealth Cup run. He got beat at Windsor, disappointingly, in one of those Fitzdares Sprint Series races somehow early in the season. But I think this horse is going to be set for a very big autumn. So what am I seeing, 10 to 1? Strong Warrior. Look, it's hard to be confident in a race like that at the straight 7 at Ascot, but I think this is a horse that's sort of lurking. He's under the radar. I think I get double figure odds. Strong Warrior for me, Saturday Ascot.
All right. Saturday Ascot, Strong Warrior in that 7 furlong handicap. For Anthony, Steve.
I'm going against Anthony.
Wow, of all the races.
Same race.
240, the Ascot handicap over 7 furlongs. I just think Carry the One is wildly overpriced at 25 to 1 in this. Drops back into a handicap for the first time since his Balmoral handicap win here in October. That was an impressive 2-length success off a mark of 104 and runs here off only a £4 higher mark. He's performed just as well over the 7 furlong trip as well, that this drop back to 7 furlongs isn't concerned. The only question mark is whether his whole season revolves around the Balmoral handicap once again. But if they were targeting that race, I don't think they'd be running at Ascot.
Fair call.
So he is 25 to 1 for this race. Back at Ascot, back on 7 furlongs, back with a bit of juice in the ground. Hector Crouch is booked, and I thought he was wildly overpriced with 4 places still available.
Wow. Okay, so we've got 2 selections in the same race. Strong Warrior for Anthony and Carry the One. Both good prices, both double-figure prices. And I'm going to Kempton. Again, another fiendishly difficult race to solve, but I do think that in the Sprint Series final at Kempton, I'm going to give another chance to Aramis Gray. Now 8, she's come down the weight. She's off a mark of 88. She was 4th in the Air Gold Cup last year. She's a very, very good horse. She ran well in the Racing League at Wolverhampton on her last start. It's her lowest mark since 2022. The fact that she ran well last time out shows that she's still capable of high-class form. And assuming there's a strong pace and she gets a decent draw, now that's what we have to wait for, but if she gets a decent draw and there's strong pace and she sits at the back of the field, she can come through and win it. She's gone close at Kempton a number of times. She's actually got a very good record there. In fact, the race at Wolverhampton didn't really play to her strengths because they didn't go that much of a gallop and she was at the back.
She's got that one run, hasn't she? I remember speaking to Callum Shepherd about it. I said, you know, you've got to time it absolutely perfect. She's got that one run. If you time it right, she's definitely well handicapped.
Trevor Whelan rode her, obviously, last time in the Racing League. I'm hoping Callum is available. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but I'm hoping that because he knows her really well.
He does,
yeah. So I'm hoping that that's the case for the weekend.
She's sucked me I've been dragged into backing her many times.
I'm going in again, but I've looked. It's the opposition as much as anything else as well. I don't think there's anything in there that's potentially got loads more to come. And she's come down at a track and a course and distance that she'll be very, very comfortable at. So Aramis Gray in the Sprint Series final at Kempton on Saturday. So just to recap, Strong Warrior at Ascot in the same race as Carry the One.
We should have really before we
but at least we're honest. At least we're honest. And Aramis Gray. Okay, that's it. Where are you this week, Anthony?
This week I've got a bit of jumping actually. I'm off to Fontwell on Sunday for a bit of my first sort of national hunt call for a while. So looking forward to that. Bit of a change of code. Bit of studio work Saturday, so I'll be keeping across all the action. Looking forward to one of those great days and eyes everywhere. Kempton, Haydock, Ascot. We'll try and follow all 3 of those from the studio. But yeah, looking forward to it.
And so many clues that you'll see this weekend for the future as well. So a lot of racing to watch. Steve?
In the Racing TV studio on Thursday, covering Salisbury and Haydock.
Excellent. Well, thank you both very much for joining us on this episode of Racing Weekly, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thank you for watching as well. Now, as always, if you've liked what you've heard or watched in this or any of our previous episodes, leave us a kind review on Apple Podcasts or in the comment section on YouTube. We're back next week to have a look at Irish Champions Weekend and the St Leger in the company of Ken Pitterson. But for now, from the Racing Weekly team, bye-bye.